Hey everyone, welcome back to Reading with Tatiana. Today I'm continuing my holiday hackathon by Tangible Reads with reading a book with red in the title. So today's review is Fannie Flagg's book called A Redbird Christmas, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5. My Booktuber Shoutout today goes to a holiday hackathon co-host, Headers, Heroes, and Heroines. I will link her channel down below if you want to show her some support. And as always, before I go into my full book review, I always appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. If you like my content, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you have any holiday recommendations or have read this book, I'd love to hear your comments down below. This book was published in 2004 and the genre is fiction, and I would specify that it's obviously a holiday fiction and it's also based in small town America. The author Fannie Flagg, that is her stage name. Her birth name is actually Patricia Neal, and I'm not American, but I kind of wonder if she is kind of like iconic or a household name. So if you're American, I wonder if you have heard of her. She's an American actress, comedian, and author. I think that's really cool. She was a semi-regular panelist on a game show called Match Game, and she's also written other novels called Fried Green Tomatoes and Whistle Stop Cafe. And her novel Fried Green Tomatoes was actually adapted into a major movie picture as well. She was also nominated for a Academy Award for her screenplay adaptation of Fried Green Tomatoes. So she seems very prolific to me, but I've never heard of her before. So I'm really curious if you're American, if you, or maybe your parents have heard of her, because she is like an older actress and author. She currently spends her time in California and Alabama, and I thought a fun fact I discovered about her is she is actually dyslexic, which I find very amazing and admirable because she is an author. The premise of the story is it starts in Chicago right before winter gets really like cold and dreary, and we meet Oswald T. Campbell, and basically he is in his 50s and he was an orphan, and his name is because Oswald was just the next name in the list of alphabetical names at the orphanage he was taken to, and his last name is T. Campbell because when his assumed, I guess, mother dropped him off at the orphanage, there was also a can of tomato Campbell soup. So he kind of has this kind of like meh, like origin story. So basically we fast forward now to present day where he's in Chicago. He's just going to see his doctor for a checkup, and the doctor's saying like, yo, Oswald, like you have like no time to live. You can definitely not live another winter in Chicago. He grew up like I think bronchitis and tuberculosis, and basically his lungs are super damaged. And the doctor mandates that Oswald has to get out of Chicago if he wants to survive. And he said that even after, if he goes to Florida or wherever or somewhere hot, there's no guarantee that Oswald will have a long life. But the issue is Oswald is also on disability. He's older. He's not working, so he's living at like a subsidized like living situation. And basically he's like, I can't afford to go to Florida. So the doctor's like, oh, I know this place called, I think, Lost River, where you can go to that they used to send other patients to that's more affordable. So then Oswald calls this number and they're like, we've never heard of this like rehab center, but it's a very small town. And then the lady Frances is like, you know what, I'll ask around town and we'll see who can board you. So she calls back the next day and she's like, yeah, come down, like it'll be $50 a week, meals will be included. And Oswald goes down not knowing what to expect, and that's kind of like the start of the story. So Oswald basically goes to this town and it's super small. There's maybe like only a few dozen residents there, mostly older ladies who are single or widowed. And there's literally like a whole cast of characters. Like there is the general store owner, Roy, who had this like tiff with the Creole that live across the river because he wanted to marry the wife of like the chief or something. There's also like this family that lives kind of in the woods, and they have a daughter who's not taken care of but becomes like the town sweetheart. There is like the postman who's also like a fisherman, and it's just really cool because through Oswald we learn this charm of this town and all this interconnectedness, and also like Oswald kind of discovers himself because up until this point he just worked. He wasn't in the best health, and he learns to finally have time for himself to pursue hobbies like bird watching or painting and just really slowing down when it comes to life. If you're wondering why the book is called Redbird Christmas, I can't miss the character where basically the general store owner Roy, he finds a baby redbird that was shot by the local boys and basically nurses it back to health, but its wing is like permanently damaged. So basically the redbird becomes kind of this like town mascot for the town, and he stays inside, he gets to know like all the residents, and it's just like kind of like a quirky character. I don't know, it's a very enjoyable book. Two common themes I found with this book, or actually three now that I think about it, is first one, a quote from the book is, Lost River seems to be a place where time itself stood still. And with Oswald moving from Chicago to this small town, it's really about you don't need a lot, you don't need the hustle and bustle, and life really is about the simple things. Like everyone in this town is very happy. When there's drama, it's really small, and everyone just wants the best for everyone. I really enjoyed that common theme that resonated throughout the whole book. The second common theme, which maybe I don't know if it's the author's intention, but it kind of stuck out with me, is the idea of lying to kids about Christmas or a pet dying. I'm really curious what your thoughts are. Like, yes, of course, Christmas is this whole tradition and the magic of Christmas, and Santa came and he ate these cookies and he left you presents, but in a way, you're lying to your children. So, is it okay to lie, like a white lie? And when do we draw the line when it's not okay? Or, for example, you always hear those tropes where, like, when the family pet dies, you say that dad or mom drove it to the farm to live its life, but it died. So I'm very curious what you think about that, because for me, I don't know, like I'm not planning to be a parent, but I do wonder like if I had kids, would I be totally honest, or there's some beauty in keeping things magical? And the very common theme is the idea of a community. Obviously, Oswald went in Chicago. He lived in a shared apartment situation for men. He was on disability and he was just not the healthiest. But moving to Lost River, even though he was a new resident that moved there later in his 50s, he really had this idea of community and everyone knowing each other and caring for each other. And it really made him healthy again. So that's like a common theme that I found in this book that you can really carry to your real life practices. Things I didn't like about this book, I mean, it is a pretty like simple book, but I think you would have to suspend belief that this is just a cheerful, simple holiday read. But if I had to critique it, with objective eyes, I would have to say the characters were very flat. They weren't really developed. It almost looked like a sitcom. Like there was a comedy of errors, events that happened, but overall it was just very basic. But I don't think the author's intention was to win an award. It's just meant to feel good. What I liked about this book, kind of touch on it, is the charm of the small town. How like there's lots of like things that happen, but kind of like a sitcom or old TV show, everything kind of solves itself. It's just so happy and so cheery. I also really like, because it's a small town, I learned about a new food called aspic, which I've never heard of before. I'll pop a photo up of it here now. It's basically like meat that's like a gelatin situation, and I'm like, it seems kind of gross, but I'm kind of curious to try it. So if you have tried it, please let me know what it's like, or if you have a recipe I can follow. On Goodreads, this book got an average of 3.98 out of 5. I think it's very accurate. Like you kind of know what you're getting yourself into when you read it. I'm just going to read one good review that I'm just going to share, which will be different from my bad versus good reviews, is a short, sweet book about life in small town America, where good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. A place where everyone eventually meets the love of their life and lives happily ever after. In other words, suspend belief, all ye who enter here, but just settle back, enjoy it for what it is. Not every book read has to be a literary masterpiece. And that review really resonates with me. It's a great book, it's not amazing, but it's not awful, it's just pleasant. Why I think you should read this book. I think you should read it if you want a nice, cozy, homey feel about small town America during the holidays. Now I'll share how this book made me feel, because I always ask if someone recommends me a book is how that book made them feel. Because if you ask me a week, a year, 5 years from now, I probably won't remember what exactly happened in the book, but I'll always remember how it made me feel. So this book, especially for a holiday read, I think if you're kind of cramped for time but just want something quick to read, this book was like super easy to read. Like I read it in 2 sittings, and like I could have probably read it in 1 if I had the time. This book made me feel very at peace and relaxed. Thank you for watching till the end of my review for Fannie Flagg's A Redbird Christmas. If you want to join me next time, I'm starting another holiday book because it's the season. This is part of the holiday hackathon as well under queer representation. And it's by Timothy Janovsky and it's called You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince. Thank you for watching until the end of my review and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.